Welcome to Two Desks Down, the business podcast that lets you get to know each guest for an entire season, not just one episode. I'm Erin Taylor, the owner of Luname Strategy, and I'll be your host every season as we explore business, life, and everything in between. All right, Caitie, do you prefer texting or talking?
I prefer texting. I don't answer the phone, but I'm also really bad at replying to text messages. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Just you can't get a hold of me.
This feels very millennial coded, but yes, I also prefer texting. I will not answer the phone.
Yeah. I got like a stern talking to from, not really, but from my doctor when she was like, did you get like the phone call from the referral people? And I was like, I did. I missed it. I called them back and then they didn't ever call me back. And now it didn't ever happen. So
Yep.
Can I schedule online?
Yeah. Yes. I need to be able to schedule online.
Yeah. I was like, she's like, they're going to call you again. I was like, I will answer. I promise. Probably.
Oh, that's amazing. What's a word you can never seem to spell?
There are so many. I've actually posted about this on Threads a couple times because I feel like we all need to normalize the fact that spelling is hard and English is made up. So like even people who write for a living, I'm like, I can't spell receipt. I can't spell license. I can't spell like vacuum every time. Tricks, like it's not even a hard word, but like, is it two C's? Is it two U's? Is it both? I don't know. And there are a lot of them. There's more than that too.
Mine is necessary for the same reason. I'm like, how many S's? How many C's? What are we doing here?
Receipt? Don't even ask me.
I very much depend on autocorrect when typing.
For sure. When I was a teacher, I would have students, like parents who would be like, my kid can't spell, like this is a problem. And I taught second grade for context. And I always had to talk about, like, especially in second grade, it's like, I care more, like spelling is not writing. And I'm going to be just on the soapbox for a second, because even though I said I was going to be fast, because I feel like people think they're not good writers if they're not good spellers, and those are not the same thing. You can be a good writer even if you're not a good speller, because like I said, spelling is made up and like all these rules are dumb.
I agree.
So you probably didn't expect me to have strong opinions about spelling when you asked me this, but I do have strong opinions.
I feel like I was scarred at a young age because I did a spelling bee in, I don't know, 5th grade, 3rd grade, something in there. And necessary was the word.
No.
And so it's just stuck in there and I cannot spell it to this day.
I am also scarred from my 3rd grade spelling bee because I got 2nd place, but I spelled the word annoy wrong because I just like confidently answered without thinking. Like I just said the wrong letter. I said, the guy who won, we talked about this like all the way through senior year of high school. He spelled it, he won on that word. And it was obviously, you know how to spell annoyed, but I said AY. And then I was like, shit. But the 3rd grade version of that, because I realized immediately that I spelled it wrong and I was out, and it was the worst.
That's terrible. I think the life lesson here is stop doing spelling bees.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely the lesson.
What time do you typically wake up?
I feel like I'm a 7 a.m. riser. 7 a.m. feels good to me. Anything earlier I can do, but 7 a.m. is like, okay, I'll wake up.
Do you set an alarm?
I sleep with 2 children, one on either side of me. They are my alarms.
Got it.
Like wake up when they wake up. Sometimes I have been trying to sneak out to go to exercise class at 6 a.m. sometimes, this is wild. People who know me are like, really? Are you doing that? But I have made it multiple times. It's just about sneaking out of bed and not waking anybody up, because then it's like I've got the dog in the crate, 2 kids and a husband. I'm like trying to get out from middle of everybody and extract myself. And sometimes it works.
This is like spy level, extraction, because I'm just thinking about an alarm going off with 2 children and how are you doing this?
I do my watch, so it's just buzzing.
Okay, it's the vibration. Okay,
which if I'm going to do an alarm, that's all I'll do. I hate being woken up by an alarm.
That's what gets me up, though. I need to shut it off right now.
Yeah. I mean, that would probably help in my life, but part of this whole world is I don't have to wake up super early. So I wake up at 7, everybody gets to school on time, and I get to work, and it feels good.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. What time do you?
I was a 7 to 7:30-ish person when I was in the US, and since we've moved and kind of adjusted our lifestyle, now it's 8:30, 9. Yes, but we're staying up until like 11 midnight because I still need my sleep.
Yeah. No, I love that. That sounds great.
If you were going to write a book, what type of book would you write?
I would write a children's book, like hands down. I mean, I was going to say I'm an aspiring children's book author, which that I feel like indicates that I've done something to try to do that. And that's not true. But like I have a goal of someday writing either like just a picture book or some sort of like middle grade, like fiction, fantasy type thing. Because you know what? I'm sorry, another soapbox. I've like my daughter really wants to read fantasy stories that feature girls, and there's just not very many of them. They're all boys.
Oh.
And that's just dumb.
How old is she?
She's 5. She wants me to read them to her.
Okay. So, I was like, wow.
She wants me to read them to her, and I want to too. And I'm like, oh my God, another another boy, which is fine. There deserve to be boys too, but
there need to be.
Yeah.
There
need
to be more girls.
Yeah. As a former teacher, like these are just I like these things. So maybe one day.
I love that. You should. That's amazing.
It'll happen someday.
I would absolutely write fiction. There's no nonfiction happening here, but I'm not sure what kind. I feel honestly that fantasy would be the easiest because it is made up and there is no research really, as far as like historical fiction or, just standard novels. But I mean, it would be fun. I feel like it would be complicated and I would do way too much before a word was ever put on a page.
I think that's like standard author stuff though.
Yeah. I don't know. It's impressive.
I gather from author threads, which like sometimes shows up in my feed. Everybody has a hard time writing the words.
Yes. It's an important work that you do and that they do. I love to read.
I can tell you actually, hold on, can I tell you? I'm on the 4th Dungeon Crawler Carl book now.
Yes.
And? All good. I should have listened to my husband a long time ago and read them because I'm like, okay, I'm just reading the next one now. Get the next one.
Which one has been your favorite so far?
I don't know. I feel like I could say I didn't dislike, but the trains one, I was feeling a little overwhelmed by like all the trains in the 3rd book. I was like, I don't know what's happening. I'm still having a good time, but like, I don't get it.
Yep.
I'm liking them all. Yeah. I'm not really, I don't do reviews. Like, I'm just like a vibes, like I liked it or I didn't like it person.
No, I feel that. Yeah, no, the train one was one of those. I appreciated his note at the beginning where he was like, you don't need to understand it. And I was like, great, because I'm not going to try.
Too. Every time I was like, I'm confused and I just kept going. Like, well, it'll make sense later. And it did.
I don't know. They're connecting somehow. Who knows?
Yeah.
Great. All right. So speaking of writing and writing words, that is what you do.
That is.
So today is a Fix My Problem, which is writing. I have spent so much time rewriting sales pages, website, captions, all the writing. It comes very hard. So today I'm going to use you to help write this podcast page. So I've written a draft that you've seen. And so I'd love to just walk through it and critique and let's hear what you got.
Yeah, well, I think that something that's great is that you have started the podcast before writing the page. Because I feel like otherwise, like I don't know. You don't know what is happening. Like when you're starting to write something for something that doesn't yet exist, I feel like it's way harder. Like I've written like newsletter opt-in pages for things that don't exist or people don't have like a full sense of like what it's going to be about or like what people like about it or those kinds of things. So like at least we started. And I think that that's like honestly to your benefit. So when we do a podcast page, like it's fun to have, just like with newsletters, it's fun to have kind of like a tagline or like a promise or something. Like I wrote one for a client recently that was like the only meta ads strategy podcast that won't bore you to tears. Like just something that's like kind of like snappy and gives the vibe. So like I would put that like up at the top. Like, are you going to share the name? Is that happening right now?
Yeah, it'll know. Everybody will know by the time we get to this episode.
They will have clicked it and seen. So, okay, this is my first time. I just heard the name 2 Desks Down, which I'm obsessed. So like, I think below that I would put like the podcast that's blah, blah, blah. So like something there that's kind of like, I'm not going to come up with that on the fly. That's not how my brain's working today, but I would suggest something snappy and quippy right there. So then you say, Two Desks Down is a series of real conversations between small business owners, the kind that usually only happen behind closed doors. Love it. Each season, I sit down with one guest across multiple episodes and we talk business life and everything that overlaps because those conversations shouldn't happen behind closed doors.
Just realizing there's a duplication there.
Yeah. So I would change one of those. I think that you could I think that you can say the same thing with a different vibe. And you would have done that before this went onto your website anyways. And I think that that's a big thing that as a copywriter, why am I pausing so long when I'm thinking about this? I'm just thinking about reading out loud. Like reading things out loud is such like an easy way to like notice the things that you don't notice when you get so close in the draft. So just like a side, I'm revising my copy. What do? Read it out loud, see if it sounds good. Like I was reading with my client yesterday on a review call and I noticed it was like 4 sections apart, but I used the word kudos twice. And it's like I hadn't noticed before. But since we were looking at it all together, I was like, oh, look at that. Let's change this one to credit. So like, reading it out loud can help. I think that this is a great little intro section, and I think it does a great job of like telling what the what the deal is with the podcast because it has a unique differentiator, which you'll want to highlight for sure. I feel like you could highlight something about like co-hosts or something, up here, because I feel like that's kind of what the vibe is. It's not really necessarily like it is a guest, but like that guest becomes like a co-host almost in that sense. And there's not really anything else out there like it that I am aware of, but I listen to every podcast in the internet. So I think another great thing to do after like this intro section is kind of like having a dedicated section to talk about like what the vibe is and like what makes it special. So like I would add that because the next thing you have in your draft is a introduction to you. So I would add in a section between these that's like kind of going into what the vibe is, what the purpose is, what the goal is, and what makes it different, and like really get to nail down that for people. And then you can either go straight into your introduction or you can talk about like what you can expect to hear. Let me look if you have that later.
Love that.
So like
I know I sat down to write this and I was like, I don't even know what goes on a podcast page.
It's fair. I feel like that's a very common problem with like every website page there is. So having a section that's like on every episode, or like in every season, maybe it's more like that. In every season, you can expect to hear conversations about things like, and then like make a list. And I would like design wise try to make it so that those like listed things are easy to like see. They're really not like in your body copy font. They're like bigger, right? So that you can see them more easily. And let's see. I think another great thing to do will be to add in reviews. You can do that in different places. And like, there's no tried and true, like you have to do it in this order. You can do the reviews ahead of your intro or you can do them after your intro. Like it doesn't really matter. Like you can do what feels right, but definitely reviews or like comments that you've gotten. If there's like someone who DMs you that's like, I love your podcast, Two Doors Down's my favorite thing to listen to, that goes on this page. Like any type of social proof you're getting belongs on this page to entice people to listen to the podcast.
Is that why you're going to DM me later just so I can put it on this page?
Exactly. I listen to it every week. My favorite podcast on the internet. Okay. So let's go to the next thing that you have, which is your mini about. So it says, hi, I'm Erin. And then you say, why are you the way that you are? Hold on. I also found yesterday when I was on a client call, I suck at reading out loud. On a call, I'd stumble over my words every time. I was like, I'm sorry, apparently I can't read today. So it's going to happen again. Do you want to read it or do you want me to read it?
No, you're doing great. I can't read out loud either. But I was going to say like, this is like a quote.
Yeah, quote. Why are you the way that you are? The person, quote unquote. Okay. So someone is asking, you're thinking, you're reflecting, and it's in italics, which great.
And it's a quote from The Office, just to get reference here.
Of course. Okay. Why are you the way that you are? Yes. I don't lay it out on the table unprompted. So as my friends can attest, it takes a minute to get to know the real me. While most guest-led podcasts limit us to one conversation, life is more than that. Settle in because instead of water cooler talk, we're getting cozy in a nook to talk all subjects and go deep on each one. And then you have this kind of part on Two Desks Down. You'll learn that you aren't the only one having that problem. Business advice from experts and books to add to your TBR. Love it because those are all great. I think that like I do know the quote, why are you the way that you are? I didn't necessarily connect that that's the one that it was. And like, I probably say that quote like once a month to somebody in my life. So I don't know if it's because I'm on the spot, but you could probably make it either more obvious or you might have to think about like how to weave that in a way so people can get that reference.
How do you feel about just putting a GIF on a page?
I feel iffy.
Okay.
I feel like I think it's a total personal preference, and I've seen some where it works. And other times I'm like, I wish that wasn't there. So I think that like, if that's what you like, it's not wrong. It's just preference. So I think that like, it's probably the easiest way to explain like that this is the quote from The Office, you know? So I think you could think about how you want to storytell this part. So it's like, you know, if you've ever like looked in the mirror, like thought, why are you the way you like think about like how you can make it so that they also might reflect on that of like why that you don't always get a chance to figure out who people are after one conversation. Like that's the point of what you're trying to say. So like having that be a little more obvious. I think also you could potentially use this section like as part of the why of your podcast. Like this doesn't really introduce you. It more talks about it's like a little bit when you're talking about like it takes me a while to get to know me. But I feel like this almost more talks about like the differentiator of the podcast. And then you could add a different intro to you as the host that's more about like, I'm so-and-so and I'm like I'm a strategist, systems person. And like, I bring that, but like, I don't want you just to learn things from me. So many other people have wonderful things to share. Like, so I'm highlighting them as well. And, that kind of thing. So kind of like weave in your personality and your bio into this section since it's like a mini about you, which mini abouts are tricky because they're not always about you. Like a lot of times they're about me, but they're actually also about the person who is reading this, who I want to do something. In this case, this is my podcast. So I think it's tricky. You could keep this as your bio, but you could also repurpose it and use it as that section above this that I was mentioning. And you'll also want to have, there aren't any buttons on here, which like when you are not a copywriter, you're probably not like, I'm going to put button, like remind myself to put buttons. You probably would just do that at the design phase. You'd be like, okay, now button goes here. But as a reminder, buttons everywhere, buttons to go listen on Spotify, buttons to listen to Apple. And I would do those like at the beginning on your top section and definitely like in your mini about section and like even more throughout the page. Like you could even do it after each section and that would be fine. So
do you use the same call to action on each one? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
okay.
Normally I like to have something like fun for each one. It's like listen to the podcast or like for this it's like the typical like, you could tune in or like you could use catch up on the episodes, like whatever you want to say, like, but you could say listen, like click to listen or something like catch up. Like it doesn't have to be crazy. If button copy is making you not publish your website, just publish your website with like the same button copy because that's not the thing you need that's not the thing you need stopping you. And then after that, you're going to do seasons. I think that's awesome. I'm like picturing already like a design of like either little tabs, how we've got those like really trendy, fun sections where it's like you could click season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4 along the top. And then whatever tab you click, it would like pop up with like that guest. I think it'd be cool to have like that person's picture, have a bio, like a really short bio about them, and then like the episode list for each season that you do. And I think doing it in a format like that, where you can click to view different copy in that same section, or doing it like a carousel where it's like clicked in the whole thing, like, what I'm talking about, like on Instagram, like you goes to the next slide, making it easy for people to see all the different things, but it's not going to take up your entire podcast page where it's like, here's who season 1 was. And then like you scroll down and it's like, here's season 2 and then season 3. Like you don't want them to have to scroll through all of that.
Yeah. You mean like, I'm thinking like Netflix and you scroll down and you get the season 1 and then it's like all the episodes and then season 2 and all the episodes of the images. Yep. Got it.
And then, but you could also do it where it's like, instead of having to scroll down, like on Netflix, like you're going down to the next row to see season 2, you could make it so that like your whole, like imagine your whole podcast page is Netflix and each of the sections is, a different row of things that you can watch. And like this row would be like every time you click, you go to a new season and you see.
Okay.
That would be cool. I feel like as a website copywriter, when I'm writing copy for people, I will wireframe the website, which means like I lay it out in a way that looks like what the design might look like. It's always a suggestion to the designer, whether it's like going out to designer or you're DIYing it, but it's like, I will hand it back to you with like text boxes and like, big words here and smaller words here and like button, like put a button here and that kind of thing. So my brain just automatically is like, oh, how would I wireframe that? And that's kind of like, that's what I'm picturing. Okay. And then you've got your like final call to action. It says the small business podcast where you can drop in just 2 desks down. Love it. And get advice, meet a new person, and have some fun. Every season, you get a new guest. Every episode is less than an hour. I think that's great. I think I would add something else here. I feel like it's like missing like a final thing. It's like when it's like that read out loud test again, where it's like I'm reading it and I want to say one more thing before like it's over. And then button to listen on Spotify. You would add those at the bottom. I think you've got a really great start to your podcast page. And I'm sure you would rather me say it's ready. Put it on your website.
I know it's not ready.
But no, I think you have a lot of great things here. And I feel like you're nailing down is like the differentiator thing, right? Like you want to point out what's different about your podcast and why people should listen to it. And you're doing that on this page. I think that adding in more of like the, like here's some of the things we talk about. Another thing you could add in is like a right for you if section. So you could like be like, this is like, you'll love this podcast if, and you could like list reasons why people will love the podcast. And, you could do things like, you don't want like super scripted episodes. Like you don't mind when people go off on a tangent and talk about, and like, I would give an example of like something super specific, like spelling bee scars, like, you can give those, and having those specific things is like enticing and it adds personality and it adds that like, it's just fun to read, so you're like, oh my God, spelling bee scars. I want to read, like, I want to hear what they're talking about. So some sort of right for you if could be great. And I don't know, I think those are the biggest things like section wise that I think you could add. But other than that, you've got the main.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, as a copywriter, I'm just curious because you just wrote a podcast page for somebody. Yeah. What do you feel like is, if somebody's writing one of these for themselves, what's the big difference between a podcast page and like a sales page?
Well, your podcast page will be a lot shorter and you're not going to be like overcoming objections in the same way. Like on a sales page, you are starting off with like, here's your current reality and like painting the picture, showing that you understand their pain points and their problems. And then you're like, showing them the transformation of like how things could be different. And then you're like, hello, I have the solution. It's this. And then you're like explaining. So with this, it's, it's a podcast. People don't have to pay to listen. You are trying to get their attention to come over and like actually do it. Like you need to get them to make those clicks and get them to care enough about it to do it. So you are still convincing and still needing like strategic words that are going to make them feel like this is actually what they want to spend their time on. But I think you jump into like, you're going right ahead with like, this is what this is what I want you to do. This is why you should listen to it. Here's who I am. I think it's, like I said, it's a lot less convincing. It's just more, and yeah, I was going to say, oh no, I don't know what I was going to say. Hold on. I think that's the biggest thing is you don't have to do as much convincing on this page.
I feel like you describing that, it's even less of a lift than even asking somebody to opt into a freebie. Like, because I'm not even asking for your email address.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like you just know that it's there and you want it to be easy for people to click over and go listen to it. If you don't include any buttons or whatever else, like how are they ever going to get to where it's going? And I think that also trickles into, you have to talk about your podcast other places. You want it on your website so that you can link to it and people can like naturally and organically find it if they're on your website. But you have to be talking about it in your Instagram stories. You have to be talking about it on Threads. You have to be talking about it in other places. Otherwise, they're never going to find that page on your website.
Yep. Love it. Any other thoughts on writing podcast page for people listening?
I think think about it similarly to like a newsletter subscribe page, which could be a whole other episode. But like you said, you're giving them something free. In this case, they don't have to do anything except for get to the app to listen. So you want to lead with your personality, lead with having that tagline to make it memorable. To be able to say like, this is what this whole podcast is about, or this is what your newsletter is about. It's the same kind of thing. So wanting to make it stick in people's minds and be enticing enough that they actually want to go listen.
Love it. Great. Well, we will leave it with that. Make sure you listen in to next week's episode. Thank you for joining me, Caitie.
Thank you.